PM's friend sues state after charges. Cops out to cripple me. Days after police shut down an aggregate processing plant in Wallerfield owned by the Warner Group of companies for operating without a license, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries granted the company temporary permission to operate the plant. The disclosure was made in a July 10 lawsuit filed by Warren's Quarry Co. Ltd., Warner Construction and Sanitation Ltd., 3 other companies under the Warner Group, and 12 individuals against the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions. The lawsuit claims an unlawful conspiracy by the police to cripple Warner companies. The Warner Group, founded by Alan Warner, has substantial businesses in TT. Warner is a close friend of the Prime Minister. Officers of the multi-agency task force charged Warner, his son Aluko Otto Warner, and 11 other people with illegal mining offenses stemming from 2 separate operations on December 2, 2023, in Vega de Orapush, Sangre Grande, and on May 2, at Moonin Road, Wallerfield. Police took control of the wash plant at Moonin Road, off Agua Santa Road, Wallerfield, after the May 2 raid and confiscated excavators and other machinery. The Warners' court action is aimed at getting back access to their property and resuming operations. The matter is listed to be heard before Justice Frank Seepersad on July 17. Several interim orders are being sought, including getting the police to vacate the property at Wallerfield and the return of heavy equipment used in the quarry business, including an excavator, a caterpillar, trucks, a crane, a land barge, cell phones, and a variety of tools. They claim the police operation at Wallerfield followed a report made by the Environmental Management Authority, EMA, to the police, and the company was not afforded an opportunity to be heard by the EMA. The failure to respond to a request for details on the complaints received by the EMA prompted the Warners to conclude their silence is deafening and shows how they are unable to respond to their unlawful actions. A temporary mining operating license granted to Kian Warner, CEO of Warren's Quarry Co. Ltd., signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries on June 18, granted a processing license for 16.66 hectares of state lands at Moonin Road, Agua Santa, Wallerfield. The application for the license was made on June 5. The permission states, given the importance and critical role played by Warren's Quarry Co. Ltd. with respect to the supply of sand and gravel aggregate for highway construction and for the local market, you are conditionally authorized to undertake mineral processing operations, pending the processing of your application for processing license. This permission is valid until December 31, 2025. A license agreement between Warren's Quarry Co. Ltd. and Commissioner of State Lands Paula Drakes, dated May 20, granted the company permission to occupy and conduct industrial activities at the Wallerfield site. That agreement was signed by Alan Warner and Kian Warner as directors of the company. In the lawsuit, Warner's attorneys said they wrote to Commissioner of Police Erla Harewood Christopher on June 24, saying the company had permission to undertake mineral processing at Wallerfield and demanded the return of the equipment seized on May 2. They claim the search warrant, which authorized the police raids on December 2, 2023, and May 2, were not based on any reasonable suspicion, nor were the warrants, which authorized the seizure of several cell phones. They claim the police action to obtain the warrants was unconstitutional, unlawful, arbitrary, and an abuse of power. They also claim, as a result, the granting of production orders to examine their financial records is null and void and contravene their constitutional rights. The Warners argue the police action has also deprived them of their constitutional right to enjoyment of their property, and, while they acknowledge the police service has the responsibility to investigate crime, it cannot justify the inordinate delay in its investigations. They allege malice in the police investigations, claiming senior police officers made blatant and outrageous statements that they will cripple all of our operations. The police officers gave the impression that they will continue to attack the applicant/claimant companies and further their campaign of harassment and intimidation, the lawsuit said. They claim an unnamed police officer told one of their employees that a serious attack on our organization in Tobago is on the rise. The Warners contend the police ought to act fairly and carry out their duties lawfully. These statements, which were made by officers, places the TTPS into disrepute as it shows their heavy-handed approach in their investigations against the applicants/claimants by predetermining the alleged offenses. The lawsuit said two of Warner's companies, Warner Construction and Sanitation Co. Ltd. and Presticon 2021 Limited, are engaged in several government contracts for the supply of construction services. There is a possibility that the criminal proceedings against the employees and the widespread media coverage will prevent the applicant/claimant companies from continuing and obtaining future government contracts, as their good reputation has been maligned unfairly. The actions of the TTPS were oppressive, excessive, high-handed, an abuse of authority, and without lawful jurisdiction. The applicants/claimants were deliberately targeted and ambushed on 3 separate occasions without being given an opportunity to be heard. This was orchestrated by the TTPS and was not supported by any legal basis. The TTPS has an agenda against the applicants. This is unlawful and is to be condemned. It said a balance must be struck between the applicants' right to the enjoyment of their property and the right of the police to carry out investigations. It added, there must be a limitation for the time the TTPS is allowed to seize property and conduct investigations. It is unfair that no time frame was provided to the applicants/claimants on when their property will be returned. The delay is unreasonable and inordinate. The charges. 4 men were held for illegal quarrying after a police operation at an area known as 5 Acres, Vega de Orapush, Sangre Grande, on December 2nd. Quarry manager Walinsk Tobias, Aaron Neptune, and excavator operators Rudy Sahai and Ahmed David were each granted $50,000 bail after they were charged by officers of the multi-agency task force led by ASP Leon Haynes. A 40-ton excavator and a 20-ton excavator, among other equipment, were seized during the police operation and taken to the regiment's Camp Komodo for safekeeping. One of the excavators has since been returned to Massey Rentals after a ruling by the magistrate. The men are to reappear before a Sangre Grande magistrate on August 9th. On May 2nd, 8 men were charged with processing minerals without a license after police raided a wash plant on Moonin Road, off Agua Santa Road, Wallerfield. CPL Terrence now but jointly charged Aluko Otto Warner, Robert Wilson, Ruben Maprangala, Ricky Joseph, Corey Charles, Dion George, Shastri Mahadio, and Kymel Williams with processing minerals without a license. They were granted bail of $75,000. On July 4th, Alan Warner, founder of the Warner Group, was charged with processing minerals without a license and released on $100,000 bail. These 9 accused are scheduled to appear before an Arima magistrate on July 19th.